Well, it doesn't really matter, though. I mean, ultimately, what you have got going on here is a whole lot of spin that the creationist movement essentially concocted as a way of more or less passing what's called the lemon test, right? This whole issue of church-state separation violation. Creationism was not able to get a foothold in science classes because it was very clearly religiously motivated. And so they were like, well, clearly what we have to do is repackage this. We have to put this in some sort of form that sounds scientific, that passes legal muster, so that there cannot be any kind of objection to it on legal grounds in terms of promoting religion and religious teachings. And that's really what this whole exercise in replacing creator with intelligent designer, with entity, whatever sort of safe word you might have, design proponents in replacing creationists. These are all just ways to sort of get around legal hassles.
And the proof of that is in the statement that you just read.
Yeah.
You read it, and you think that this is telling that they're not trying to muddle with science.
But it opens with a statement about a creator.
It opens with an intelligent creator, and they say it could be natural or supernatural. And yet they say this is beyond the realm of science. Well, if it's natural, it's not beyond science. So they're negating the possibility that it's natural as soon as they say that this is outside the realm of science.
Well, what they're saying in the passage that I just read to you is we understand that our theory of intelligent design might very well, in fact, have religious implications. But what they're saying is they want to stick to the claim that there may be signs of intelligence detectable in nature, such as looking at the bacterial flagellum and irreducible complexity. And okay, if we can
but claims about bacterial flagellum and irreducible complexity have all been blown out of the water in terms of being evidence for some sort of design. We understand the evolutionary processes that lead to these things, in organisms that that certain ID proponents are saying are evidence of irreducible complexity. Kenneth Miller has completely knocked irreducible complexity right off the table. And there's a lot of studying there's a lot of research and a lot of science done to understand.
The Ken Miller claim, you said Ken Miller completely blew irreducible complexity out of the water. I really would like to respond to that.
Yeah, if you can, sure. I mean, if you claim to know more about biology than one of the leading biologists in the country, who also happens to be a theist, by all means.
Well, yeah, I never made that claim, sir, that I knew more about biologists than biologists in the country. What I'm saying is I think, and correctly I might add, Michael Behe and countless others in the intelligent design movement have responded to the claims that Dr. Miller has made, and I actually think Dr. Miller strawmans Dr. Behe's definition of irreducible complexity. And I have actually right in front of me here a quote from Michael Behe's Darwin's Black Box, page 40 for all of the viewers who are watching over here. And it says, even if this is from Michael Behe's own book where he published this idea, even if the system is irreducibly complex, one can't definitively rule out the possibility of an indirect circuitous route. As the complexity of an interacting system increases, though the likelihood of such an indirect route drops precipitously, and as the number of unexplained, irreducibly complex biological systems increases, our confidence that Darwin's criterion of failure has been met skyrockets towards the maximum that science allows. So what Dr. Behe is saying in that passage that I just read is, yeah, co-option might work, indirect pathways for things like the flagellum might have been found, but the more of those things you find, that if you remove one part away, the system doesn't work.
But that's exactly that's where Miller completely knocks Behe's point out of the water, because Behe's whole idea about IC is that what you just said, if you remove one part of this entire complex mechanism that he is saying is irreducibly complex, if you remove one part, then it can't work.
At its current function, for example. So let's talk about
who cares? The whole point is Miller gives Miller gives a very clear example in which no fewer than 40 elements are removed from the flagellum's tail. And they have a function. They have, as Matt said, the function is simply different. Okay? Elements of an organism have a function, and then they come together. A different function is now performed. The original function is no longer formed, but they simply do other things in their earlier stages.
I understand your point, and I understand Dr. Miller's point. What Behe is saying here is, First of all, if you concede the point, you move one part away, the flagellum doesn't function as a motor. That's what Behe's saying. Now, if you find other systems that do that, what Miller has attempted to do with the type 3 secretory system, which is, I believe, is what you're referring to, with taking away 40 of the flagellum 50 proteins, what Miller is saying is, yeah, we found something that might be an intermediate. What Behe is saying is, one is you have to account for now this huge indirect process for all of these systems which are irreducibly complex. Because take one part away, the system can't function in its present form.
Hang on. Before we get to the furthermore, I put it that nobody has demonstrated that a system is in fact irreducibly complex. They have just asserted it, and it is an argument from ignorance. It is a claim that, look at this system, we can't think of anything that it could do or any other way that it could have come about, therefore I will declare it to be irreducibly complex. And I assert that that is an argument from ignorance. First, you need to actually demonstrate that an irreducibly complex system exists. And when Behe has tried with his prime examples, it has been demonstrated that in fact that is not an irreducibly complex system, provided we allow for function to change.
Okay, Matt, just so I just want to clarify something that you just said. Are you saying over here that irreducible complexity is not falsifiable, or just that no irreducibly complex system has been presented? I just want to clear that up. Because that's a big difference here. Are you saying the concept is not testable?
Both. Because as irreducible complexity has been presented, I would say it is an argument from ignorance, and that we can't think of anything, any other function, and therefore this system is irreducibly complex, is the way that has been asserted in the past. And so those assertions have been, I would say, unfalsifiable. Whether or not the prospect is entirely unfalsifiable, I don't know. First, we'd need somebody to actually demonstrate a system that's irreducibly complex, and also demonstrate how they came by the understanding that it was in fact irreducibly complex. And neither of those has taken place.
I disagree with you completely. I think actually both of them have taken place.
What are the examples?
I'll respond to both of them. First of all, I have a quote here from Judge Jones's ruling in the Kitzmiller versus Stover trial on page 76. Judge Jones actually says right here, and this is from the testimony from Dr. Kenneth Miller and Dr. Robert Pennock, the two expert witnesses in the case, as irreducible complexity is only a negative argument against evolution, it is refutable and accordingly testable. So what you have here, and he cites Miller's testimony for that. So Judge Jones agrees that the concept as a whole is in fact falsifiable. Dr. Behe, and I think he's done correctly, is you go and you take a bacterial flagellum and you knock out one of its proteins. If it can't function as a motor, under Behe's definition, it's irreducibly complex. So
well, that's the whole problem. What we're trying to tell you is we don't think, and quite frankly, the majority of people in Behe's profession don't think that his definition has any sort of validity. You know,
what difference does it make?
He's setting these parameters, okay, as a way of saying, all right, well, here is a way in which something can be, under my definition, irreducibly complex and cannot have evolved into the form it's in now. And it's the premise, okay, by which he establishes these definitions that is not held to be valid. Let me ask you something. Let me just and let's do this without reading extensive quotations, okay? If you think intelligent design is valid as a scientific concept,
okay,
then let's talk about falsifiable.
Sure.
How it's falsifiable.
Absolutely.
What do you think a non-designer designed universe / life form / world would look like? What would a world and full of life or not full of life look like that was non-God designed?
So how would I falsify the entire theory of intelligent design is what you're saying?
Well, first of all,
it's not a theory.
There's no theory. The concept, the hypothesis, the premise of intelligent design. The premise is...
how would I falsify the hypothesis of intelligent design?
Dude, just intelligent design. Intelligent design meaning that all of this, everything here that we see, that we live, ourselves, our world, our universe, people, dogs, cats, these are the product of intelligent design. In other words, some sort of designer, an intelligent agency, put this together with teleological intent, like there was a goal in mind. That's the premise of intelligent design. Am I correct, or am I stating that incorrectly?
Well, the premise of intelligent design is just that there's certain features in biology that are best explained by an intelligent cause. I mean, to the degree that, as far as that goes, I mean, that's debated even amongst the intelligent design proponents. You have some who reject common descent, then you have some who accept common descent.
Fine, but I'm just talking at a basic level. What would a non-intelligently designed universe look like? What would a non-intelligently designed life form look like?
Okay, well, you would be able, well, that's the thing. The way I would falsify it is I would go and I would find, like, I mean, even Richard Dawkins admits that there's an appearance of design in nature. I mean, in his book,
but appearances aren't realities, right? We're talking about just, if you want to state as a hypothesis, the universe, planet Earth, and all living things upon it are the product of the design on the part of an intelligent agency, whether it's natural, supernatural, God, the Great Pumpkin, whoever, okay? In order to understand that it's cold outside, you have to have a frame of reference. You have to understand what hot is to understand that it's cold. You see what I'm saying? So in order to understand, in order to be able to say this is a designed universe, what would a non-designed world look like? What would a non-God designed living thing look like?